Well, Deb Murphy filed this report for Sierra Wave Media saying Inyo County debuted its epic community outreach effort in Big Pine Monday evening. Now the goal, an accurate litmus test on residents' embrace or at least tolerance of commercial marijuana operations. Now the campaign, conducted by the Inyo County Planning Department staff and headed by senior planner Kathleen Richards, will have 12 stops on this Cannabis Caravan. Now, if one had to boil the 2-hour session down to minimal words, they'd be Big Pine is fairly tolerant. The formal Big Pine area voted against commercial operations on the county's advisory November 8 ballot items. The 2 tracks on Reynolds Road went for commercial enterprises. The margins in both areas were narrow. Now, the packed town hall meeting in Big Pine on Monday included a few not in my community folks, a few more who wanted little or no restrictions on commercial operations. Some of those were not Piners, and representatives from the Big Pine tribe of the Owens Valley. Tribal lands as sovereign nations are exempt from any restrictions. Now, some of the highlights: cultivation for personal use. State law allows cultivation of 6 plants for personal use. Residents of Big Pine expressed concern over potential theft. One wanted permits or fees for personal use. Now, on the flip side, a resident pointed out existing nuisance laws would apply and any additional restrictions would just cost money to enforce. Also, commercial cultivation. Planner Richards explained the possibility of commercial use permits to allow cultivation for sale in the community, as well as the 4 applicable types of licensing dependent on size. Now, beyond distance restrictions placed by state law between commercial grows and schools, much of the residential areas could support a commercial operation but would require a conditional use permit. Now, the consensus was no commercial grows in residential zones, but there was some interest in Type 1 operations less than 5,000 feet. Deb Murphy reports that rumor has it Snoop Dogg is buying up Adelano. That statement sent chills through the crowd. With background checks and felons not allowed to license operations, a resident adding the possibility of putting residency requirements for licensing within the county. Also, another suggestion: look at each license application and make decisions on a case-by-case basis. Ironically, the only parcel large enough for a Type 4 license was acreage on the north end of town, a Los Angeles Department of Water and Power regreening project. Property owner consent for renters or lessees' personal or commercial grows is required, but again, Planner Richards was unaware of LADWP's stance. Deb Murphy said we might know that by the end of the week. Now, 2 locals in Big Pine completely against commercial grows. Manufacturing, now that's divided into 2 types. Type 1 involves volatile substances, Type 2 doesn't. Nobody wanted Type 1, which Richards explained would probably only be allowed in the few industrial zones in the county. Again, a case-by-case decision was suggested. Another local thought Type 1 in residential, basically mom and pop operations, could be acceptable. Retail, mobile delivery services, and micro businesses, that's small-scale cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, and retail requiring licensing for each function, all got a similar reaction. Now, suggestions including limiting retail operations to be proportionate with the community's population, don't enforce distances between pot retail and bars, fix zoning to open more areas for micro businesses, and keep everything in a scale with the county. Now, the only glitch in arguments for proportion between pot sales and population is the simple fact that the community populations explode with tourists on weekends and throughout the summer. Future workshops, all from 6 p.m. They include Round Valley School on Monday, a couple more next week, and all total 8 others through early April. Now, this story and the dates of the workshops are posted on our website, sierrawave.net. Thank Deb Murphy for that report. Well, the Inyo National Forest and Bureau of Land Management Bishop Field Office have submitted to the California State's Parks Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation preliminary applications for grant funds to enhance and manage motorized recreation. Now, the agencies invite public comments on the preliminary grant applications. These and all other applicants' grant requests, as well as detailed instructions about the process and how to comment through April 3rd, can be viewed at the website ohv.parks.ca.gov. Also going to be an informal open house, 4 to 6 p.m. Thursday, March 16th. That'll be taking place at the United States Forest Service BLM office behind the DMV in Bishop. Copies of the preliminary applications will be available at that open house, and the public can come by anytime during the open house to review and discuss the grant applications. And again, that full press release with the contacts is posted on sierrawave.net. Also, Deb Murphy filed a report for Sierra Wave Media noting an amendment to Bishop's municipal code allowing granny flats or accessory dwelling units known as ADUs in residential zones. That is headed to the Bishop City Council. Now, the change is in response to state legislation signed by Governor Jerry Brown last fall as a measure to reduce the state's affordable housing shortage. Bishop City Planning Associate Elaine Kabbalah presented the ordinance amendment at last week's Bishop Planning Commission meeting. The code change was approved unanimously, and if approved by the Bishop City Council, the ordinance could make a small dent in the city's housing issues. Now, the legislation, AB 2299 and SB 1069, and consequently Bishop's ordinance, contain elements more appropriate for densely populated urban areas, things like easing parking restrictions. But Kabbalah explained these elements were included to be in full compliance with state law and to cover any future changes in Bishop. Also, according to Kabbalah, existing but not legal ADUs, referred to as bootlegs, can rise to legal status provided they meet the city's building standards and are in compliance with the new ordinance. Again, Deb's full story is on sierrawave.net. Well, we've got a closure and a continued opening to talk about. Los Angeles Department of Water and Power has implemented a temporary road access closure at North Landing. That's north of Crowley Lake. This is going to limit vehicular access to sage grouse breeding grounds. This is through April 25th. Press release from the LADWP notes that vehicular traffic from the public will be prohibited during this time to limit recreational use during the prime breeding season for the sensitive species. Closure will be lifted Tuesday, April 25th, prior to the opening of the general trout season in the Eastern Sierra. And some great and not completely unexpected news from Mammoth Mountain Ski Area. Hey, operations at Canyon and Eagle Lodges now going to be extended until April 23rd. That's great. And the annual pond skim, that has now been changed till April 23rd. They do that on the closing of Canyon Lodge as well. Operations will remain out of Main Lodge until the 4th of July. We know a lot of folks like to get out there and then head to the parade. Very cool. We'll be back with more news.